All conversations and information exchanged during participation in this podcast or interaction on the DrDrew.com website is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. Do not confuse this with treatment or physician medical advice or direction per se. You must always follow your medical professional's advice and direction. Nothing on these podcasts or posted on this site supplements or supersedes the relationship and direction of your medical caretakers. Please understand, I am not playing the role of physician in this environment per se. I'm educating. I am a licensed physician with specialty boards in American Board of Internal Medicine and American Board of Addiction Medicine. Hey, this is Dr. Drew, and you are listening to This Life
with Bob Floyd
and Dr. Drew.
Here we are.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're back.
We are back.
We're back.
Here we are.
It's This Life with Dr. Drew and Bob. It's the first time in a long time.
It has been a while since we recorded a pod. You're right. And we're
exciting.
Special guest Mike Carano.
Hello. Did you hear that echo on your voice? That was pretty spectacular.
He does it for the old radio.
Oh, that's not too bad.
Intro. But so this morning, Chrissy said, "Who's going to be on the show?" And I said, "Well, Mike's going to be on." And she said to say hello.
Oh, thank you.
And she said, "What are you going to talk to him about?" And I just decided pedophilism is what we're going to talk about.
Is that a word, actually? Pedophilism?
Pedophilia?
Yeah, pedophilia.
Yeah. Well, hold on. Before we break right into the
because you don't even, all you got to do is see Mike.
Let me state for the record, I have no insight into pedophilism, pedophilia, any of that. I just watched a documentary on Netflix that I can't shake. It's like watching a murder or something, and you're stuck with it.
The idea is most people have a book or whatever. When Mike's on, just talk to him for 45 seconds, and you've got a whole show subject.
Yes, we'll get something. But he came in. You wanted to first plug your stuff. The After Disaster.
Plug my stuff. I'm opening a hardware store, little mom and pop operation.
Yes.
Hey,
it's in Tustin.
After Disaster.
The After Disaster podcast, Miscellaneous Adventures from the World of Mike Carano podcast, and I think those are the only two things. Instagram, all the usual stuff.
Instagram, Mike Carano.
Yeah. Instagram's my favorite place.
And so whenever Susan goes out of town, I call Mike to go to dinner. And so we went out to dinner, and he sticks a GoPro in front or something, some sort of camera.
I don't do it all the time. I give us one way, either home or there is private.
So I'm driving. The typical recording is going over Coldwater Canyon. Mm-hmm. So that's where the recordings occur. But we happened to go down Sunset for some reason. I forget why. And we came across the Hustler store.
Yeah.
Mike goes, "What? Why do they still have these?" And you said something like, "Oh, hang on a second, I got to pull over and get a butt plug."
Well, you pointed out the best thing was, why do you need? This is the least
spontaneous buys.
Yeah, exactly. I need some beads, quick.
There's no parking.
It's Mardi Gras. Next Fat Tuesday's on Tuesday. Speaking of Fat Tuesday,
but so you came in with a.
Wait! I want to finish this Instagram. Finish the Instagram story. So, what was it we said?
You brought up the most logical thing in regards to that. You said if any place does not need a brick and mortar store, it's a porno. It's a sexual toy store,
or anything to do with stuff that would be embarrassing to walk into because you have the online material. It's just boom, online.
Boom.
Yeah.
So where can we find that video?
Mike Carano
on my Instagram. It's like 5 or 6 things back. Which you know what it reminds me of.
But it was well received.
When I first remember, yes. When I first became aware of, I think it was on an HBO show, that the real doll, the $5,000 sex doll, that weighs as much as a real human being, and it's got like all the features.
Yeah.
What kind of a real human being?
Latex human being.
What are you talking about, Bob? True love. I'm talking about love here.
No. Well, you were talking about this new Netflix documentary. Now you got me all excited to watch it. Now you're dead on it. You don't want to talk about it.
I'll talk about it in a sec, but I just want to get the real doll thing out of the way. I remember looking at that going, I understand how someone would want that because it feels like a woman. It looks like a woman. I mean, I think after 5 minutes, you'd be like, I think I should get my money back. But, of course, after the orgasm, you're like, this is a horrible mistake. But you
have to clean it yourself.
You have to clean it yourself.
Right? Guilt.
You have to clean it yourself. And
that's real Catholic right there.
When the time comes to get rid of it, you can't just throw an 80-pound human body-looking thing in the dumpster, right? There's going to be an investigation, and they're going to come knocking on your apartment door and go,
What's weirder is if you chop it up.
That's what I'm saying, yes! Someone wanted to sell me a real-life giraffe head. It was like 9 feet long, and the guy knew that I collected odd stuff, and he brought me over to his house. This is in Brea. And he goes, I got something you'll want. And he goes, at $1,200, it's yours. And immediately I went, I'll take that. And then I thought, I don't. It was 9 feet
real
long.
stuff.
How is a giraffe had 9 feet?
The neck.
Oh, the neck.
The neck and the head combined. It was laying on his couch. I'll send you a picture later. And I thought about it, and I went, I don't want that. I'm not into that.
Can you
I'm not
imagine,
into hunting.
Drew? This goes on at Mike's World 24 hours a day, 7 days
but
a
that
week,
was
365 days a year.
So he's trying
That
to do
giraffe head, I thought, what happens when I need to get rid of this? It's going to be, I'm going to hacksaw it into weird pieces.
that and my latex doll. You're going to have to get rid of at the same time. So Mike is actually doing a movie about his stuff. Like he's documenting.
Yeah,
all
it
this.
started to be. It was a movie about death. I'm still doing that. They're running like neck and neck, and
When I think of death, I think of you sometimes. Right? You're obsessed
because I'm
with
dark.
it. You're obsessed with it.
I'm not obsessed with it. I'm
You
obsessed.
talk about it a lot.
Yeah, I'm. I think it's one of these things that we don't talk about enough because it seems to me what I'm learning is if you think about it and accept it, this other part is more enjoyable.
The living part.
Yeah,
This other part.
He even mentioned at your birthday party, when all the chaos was going on, the podcast, and nobody was listening or whatever, and Mike bum rushed because we were all like wanted to get on first when it was because we thought it was going to get even more decomps from there.
Yeah.
He talked about, I have to stay. He was talking about whether he should leave or not, and how he has to stay because if he dies and everything is about death with you.
Well, that's since his sister, but his sister died. His sister.
Yeah, the tree fall.
Yeah. That's what's made him think about it. I don't think you thought about it much before that.
I absolutely did not think about
You
it.
didn't think about it until your sister's thing?
It made me realize what an impact it has and how unprepared we are for it. And also the fact of the matter is I took on
That's
something.
what religion is all about, to be prepared for it, Mike. You're
That's
just
so
not
weird
religious.
I've been studying religion my entire life. Been running from that.
Missed that piece.
I think that's a big important part. That people have shied away from religion because it's become so politicized, and yet that thing that teaches us about life and generational and tradition and death, people have rejected now.
It's sort of
Especially
funny.
metropolitan people in America.
I've done what other people have done, which is more than rejected. I've discounted it and insulted people that believe in it, and just had this hatred towards religious people. But I'm doing a strange turnaround.
Version of it.
No, I'm looking for a higher power.
He's struggling
Not
with
God, but I'm looking for something.
He's struggling
And
with the God concept.
I really am.
Right.
Like this is the first time in my life I've ever cracked the door just to look at maybe let's just see. I don't mean I'm looking to believe in God and there's a little guy floating around in the clouds. I'm looking for something else. Like
you
the
said
structure.
something-
Are you scared of dying?
Not really, for some reason.
You said something very powerful to me about the importance of hanging out with another person. That you got that message.
I got that from you.
Yeah.
You brought that up when you talked about the 3 factors that lead to contentment to an extent with people. I don't know why I'm being so vague about it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to make a bold statement like the 3 things that make you happy because that's just not realistic. But the socializing issue, the being happy with what you're doing, and having a loving relationship with somebody. And I do believe that because I look at people who are absolutely miserable and they don't have all 3. My mom, my dad.
Work, love, and play. But all that has to be with other people.
But the social thing
that
is
was
so
Freud
difficult.
thought of that, not Dr. Drew.
Yeah.
Nope.
Well,
he gave you credit for
Well, but it's
Freud.
interesting.
He wasn't taking credit for it. He actually did credit somebody else, but I'm too dumb to remember
he's
who it
Who
was.
actually-
did you credit?
He's crunching together several ideas, and it's fine. I don't want to address it, but the work, love, and play thing is Freud. What I was talking about was leading a good life. How do you lead a good life?
Right.
And what I said, you
And
need
a balance.
technique, you need skill, phronesis, you need wisdom, and you need to be of service. And so, but I would argue that the part you got is the most important part, which is hanging out, being around people. But maybe spirituality, maybe God is somewhere in there.
But
It's-
watch how things
God, I
tip,
hope
though.
so.
Because
Because-
he's an artist, he's a comedian, right? I was a musician. When you tip too far to the thing that you're expert at, that you're great at, when it becomes your work, your vocation, everything, it takes away something that's special about it.
Yes, it does.
You don't have balance.
It's true.
Right? And so it was your sister that kind of set you off on this new path then. So I've only known you since kind of around then.
Yeah.
Right?
I think
When did
so.
you get sober, if you don't mind me
7
asking?
years ago.
7. So we've known each other 7 years.
Ask me when I started doing the steps.
4 months ago.
2 weeks ago. Not kidding.
It's been more than 2 weeks. It's been about 6 weeks.
Yeah, but I haven't really started. He's got me reading the first 160 pages of the book, and every day he calls me and he's like, where are you? And I go, 2 more pages. He goes, you're only reading 2 pages a day. I'm like, you should count yourself lucky that I'm doing this.
By the way, it's not like he's not had a relationship with the 12 steps. He's been actively fighting it for 7 years.
Yeah.
But
finding reasons not to do it.
It's funny. I know.
But
I'm
so
not
prior to 7 years ago, you weren't like a cynical, death-talking guy?
I made fun of everything, and I was insulting, and I was mean-spirited, and I was sarcastic, and I was everything I don't really want to be.
Those are all the things I know you to be, and I love that.
No, but I was way worse. The sarcasm thing I've been thinking about a lot the last 5 or 6 months because I think it's mean-spirited. I think there's ways to make fun of things. And
here's a funny thing. The three of us go for the cake thing, right? The anniversary.
Yeah.
Right? And you're talking about Dave's not as cynical as you or I.
Yeah.
But there's no way even true cynics cannot be sentimental. And I got teary-eyed 2 years ago at the senior center, right? It's just such a significant thing when you have your anniversary for sobriety that even cynics like us, like we sit in the back row, we talk, we don't do, but there's no way. There's something so beautiful and pure about it. And that,
then Mike will talk after his cake and tell him how the program saw it. So he hates it.
Dr. Drew has met me after 2 of my birthdays.
Yeah,
on Sundays, right?
Yeah, he's come over and we've had breakfast. He and I and Tara had breakfast one day, and then the next time there was a group of us. It was a nice time.
Very
fun
group.
Yeah. When is it? It was just in Christmas,
December 1st.
But
but I don't know how to. I don't know how to be honest. For one. 2 is I don't know if that's really my birthday because that's when I quit drinking, but I ate some pot candy after that, and I don't know when. I remember I was at a Louis C.K. show.
It's your birthday. People are too hung up on that.
Yeah.
But one thing that people, because there's this alternative to 12-step world that's evolved the last 5-10 years, and I think it's very important to remember your sobriety date. Yours is December 1st.
That's funny you would say that because I spoke at a meeting a month or so ago, and I went, I don't care when my date is. I couldn't care less about that. I don't keep track of the dates. It doesn't mean anything to me. But I meant it in a way that the important thing to me is coming here and being part of this and not waking up with a hangover and not being crazier than I am now.
Let me show you the alternative. You're in the 12-step world. You're in the 12-step world, and so everybody knows your date. I know it. Dave knows it. Drew knows it. But when you just do it alternative with CBT or whatever, and you don't remember your date, at a certain point, at the 2 and 3 year point, you don't even know how long it's been since you've been sober. Yeah. And at a certain point, you forget. Gloria Scott, my mentor in AA, taught me it's not really the birth date that matters. It's the day before that you have to remember.
I do remember that clearly.
That's interesting.
No, I'm never going to forget the date. I was just talking out my ass, and people corrected me, and I realized I say things that are wrong a lot. And
there you go.
People didn't correct me, but people come up to me and said, I don't agree with that at all. My date is the most important day to me, but I like that you said it. And I'm like, I didn't mean it either, so we're all...
Mine's coming up March 16th, and March 16th doesn't mean that much to me, but March 15th I was in the L.A. County Jail.
You should go back there and see if you can conjure some deja vu.
You had to take a cake?
Oh, my God. I'll go with you.
That would be awesome.
That's not a bad idea.
Do they have meetings there?
Yeah, they have meetings. You got to sign up way before. You got to be on a panel. We should try to...
I would love to do that. I would love to do that.
Can you bring your cameras?
If they'll let me.
Probably put one in your glasses.
So Mike is...
You think I have the ability to do that?
Then you check in
Screw Google, I got this. Yeah, exactly.
Get arrested.
I know there's a big thing about honesty, but I'm going in with a hidden camera.
The parallel paths.
Why are you wearing a jacket with giant buttons?
You haven't described...
I'm chilly.
You have described what the parallel paths are of your movie.
Parallel paths are, I started making this movie about death, and it was supposed to be a comedy, and it became...
It's hysterical.
A roadblock. Couldn't do it. According to my therapist, I definitely had not mourned. And I wasn't prepared.
Therapist, I told you that for a year.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't even know it was a subject. I thought you know that you haven't mourned.
My therapist pointed out you've never said her name, and anytime I ask you about her, you mention her car, and that's all you can think of.
You mention the car and drumming.
Yeah.
That's what he talks about.
Yeah.
But I'm working on that a lot, and it's been harrowing, and it's been fantastic.
Yeah.
It really has been, because I feel freer now than I ever did. And I think it's because of the EMDR. I think that has a lot to do with it. You pointed that out as well. There's no way it's not doing something major for me.
Explain for those at home what EMDR is.
It's a way of doing repetitive movements or eye movements or motions with your hands, whatever it might be, to try to release certain parts of your brain to be able to access parts that are traumatized.
Desensitization.
Eye movement desensitization.
Yeah, it's it was
Where
developed.
do you do it at?
I do it at my therapist's office.
I know.
With little buzzers in my hands,
buzzers.
Larchmont.
Yeah.
But the the history of it's fascinating. I'm not going to get into it because I can't
It's
remember.
just a woman walking through the woods.
Yeah, she was hiking and noticed if she pays attention to right, left, things were different in her head. And it's been used to treat trauma survivors. I talked to a woman whose two-year-old died, and she goes, "It saved my life completely." I laugh. I go to movies. I still enjoy my life. I never don't think about my daughter, but she goes, "I got through it." And it was for military folks.
And the reality is where you and I know this, but the way the brain evolves in trauma is it walls off from it, so you can't access it, and this allows you to reaccess it.
Yeah, there was one experience that was about my sister that we did it. We can't do it every time because it's too heavy for me sometimes. One time we did it, and it felt like something broke in my head, like it hurt, instant migraine, and I was shaking, and I couldn't stop, and it lasted for hours after I left. I was driving home, and tears were just, and I wasn't even thinking of anything, and I felt sick for 48 hours, and I told her, I go, "I think it screwed me up." She goes, "It was good." And I go, "No, it was not
he
good."
Accessed that bodily-based locked up
but,
grief.
Days later, it was just a whole new feeling came over me.
So the plates shift, the bodily-based emotional plates.
But it's not for
around.
everything. It's really for trauma only. It's
and grief.
Because of course, being a know-it-all, I know more than you, guy. The minute after my first appointment, I went out and bought the machine.
Oh, you did?
And apparently, it doesn't do any good if you're sitting at home trying to treat yourself.
The junkie and me wanted to do that right when you said that. I'll buy it from you.
And
it doesn't work for you. It'll work for me, Mike.
Of course.
And maybe the spirituality piece is whatever that is missing when you do it alone.
I'll tell you. Yeah.
So give it some thought.
No, you told me that. I said, "Why can't I just learn this from a book?" And you were like, "It needs to be with another person."
It needs to be experienced in an interpersonal context.
I just wish it was faster.
You're rewiring brain tissue.
I know, but
that takes fucking forever.
When I was feeling down and out, if I had one margarita, felt like $1 million.
Well, that's why people drink
instantaneous.
Them. That's why they do it. There it is.
Chips and salsa and pico de gallo, guacamole.
Oh my God!
Yeah, I remember.
So
those.
you've not yet told.
Oh, Susan remembers those days.
You've not yet told our listeners what the parallel paths are.
Started on this death project, kind of dragging my feet, kind of depressed, kind of set my expectations too high. Talked to my famous friends who make movies. They were so supportive. I thought, I can't live up to this. And then Paul, the producer of the film, flew out here, came over my place, and after about an hour, he went, "Your life is total chaos." He goes, "How do you live in this?" Because I have toys and
I've thought that before.
Yeah.
If you look at early 5 Minutes with Mike's, you'll see he lived.
I just buy everything, even stuff I couldn't care less about. Swords, I don't care
Action
about swords.
Figures. The set of the Starship Enterprise, the set in his living room.
The whole thing in my living room. I have 3 captain's chairs. Are
you a fan of Star Trek?
Sort of. It doesn't matter. I buy anything.
How do you hear about
I
them?
heard one Maria Callas song at the end of The Sopranos once. I ordered the CD box set. I ordered a photographic book of all of her pictures. She's not even a photographer. Pictures of her, and I ordered her biography. Same day. It was like $180. And I went, I think I'm doing this too fast. I'm not. I kid you not. Like it's obsessive.
QVC dream.
So the film then.
So Paul goes,
what
I want you to do is I need you to turn the camera around, put it on yourself, and go, "I'm Mike Carano. I'm supposed to be working on a movie, and I owe the IRS $25,000, and my life is a mess." And he goes, "Just turn the camera on yourself and start talking, and then start dealing with this shit." So over the past year, I've probably sold 50 to 60% of my junk. It's not even junk. I've sold most of it to pay my bills. Like when I need to pay rent or something, I'll sell a camera or I'll sell something else.
He's a photographer too.
Yeah, and I'm whittling it down to. I still have so much stuff you would notice if you saw before and after. But I got a life coach. She straightened some stuff out. She would come over with these large boxes and go, "We're donating 3 boxes today," and I'd resist and I'd be resentful and angry at her.
You ever see the TV series Hoarders?
Yeah.
Well, it's like that, but it's
like
not a mess.
Hollywood version of it.
But it's not a mess, though. It's things were in
organized.
It's just you can't let it go.
I shouldn't say that either. because there were piles of toys where I couldn't even find.
So do you find that this binge watching of Netflix, because every time I see you, you're watching another series or another documentary.
That's funny you would say that because I rarely watch it.
Huh?
Well,
how do you watch all this stuff that you talk about?
This documentary came recommended to me, and then close friends told me, you should not watch this. It will screw with your head.
So you immediately watched it.
And I watched it, and
I realize both of you, every time I see you, you tell me about a new show that I got to watch.
Well, I dispose.
How do you watch all this television?
I honestly don't watch much TV. Almost none.
Well, how do you say?
Like, you know what I watch every year? I watch Westworld and I watch Game of Thrones, and that's it.
You guys seen Russian Doll?
I watched one episode of Russian Doll.
And what'd you think?
Well, because he's in denial of his television
because
viewing.
You're probably friends with her too, but we're both friends.
Yeah. Killing Eve. How about that one?
What is that?
Killing Eve.
How do you guys watch so much stuff?
Because on a plane, you watch the whole.
No, I found him on the plane.
I think your question.
We're old people.
Is
Bob.
shockingly accurate because every time he has seen everything, and he reads a lot of books.
Every single thing you've seen.
And I'm like, I'm a lazy guy doing one thing, and I don't have time to watch TV. How are you watching every single TV show and reading every book?
People are still telling me to watch Orange is the New Black, and I've never seen an episode of it.
Susan brings me in on some
stuff. We're empty nesters now.
Yeah, she brings me in on some stuff, and we are similar viewers where we will consume it all in a sitting. We will just get it done. We will, right?
I'm trying to figure this out because I always feel inadequate, and I always tell you, "Oh yeah, I'll watch it." Like this pedophilia.
I wouldn't watch it.
I'll watch it.
I already told you the whole story.
But I never can because I'm too busy. But the time that I do spend is sports, basketball. So I watch.
That's a lot of time.
I watch 4 hours a night of basketball.
I watch football, and that's it. Only significant football.
But you can watch that with your kids in the room.
Yeah.
These are not shows.
They're not. She can't be interrupted.
Killing Eve is the best rendition of a psychopath I've ever seen.
Which is it called?
Killing Eve.
What network's it on?
It's on Showtime, but you get it on Hulu.
This is hard. Watching TV nowadays is harder than finding a book.
I know.
It really is.
It's like walking into a bookstore going, "What's good?"
It's seriously
and they're like, "To Kill a Mockingbird," and here's 40,000 other things right there.
Do you use Amazon? It's the Amazon video or something.
Yeah.
It tells you what to watch. Every time I turn it on, it's got 4 more recommendations
of something
that I watched.
They all do that.
The worst is if
Netflix has the same shit up every time.
Right,
though.
that's true.
Okay, now that I brought this up, that I say I don't watch TV, I don't. But I do watch a lot of YouTube videos because that's my latest distraction for the last 3 or 4 months is like at 11 o'clock midnight, I'll lay in bed and watch YouTube videos. And I go down rat holes where I get obsessed with engraving. And I'll watch
called rat holes?
Rabbit holes?
I think they're called rabbit holes.
Whatever. I go down some kind of mental hole. It's more of a rat hole for me.
Wormholes for you.
That says a lot about you, Mike, that it's a rat hole, not a... Because it's a bunny hole. It's a rabbit hole.
Okay.
Rat hole is ugly.
He feels bad.
There's rat holes as well.
But in this town, there are plenty of them.
Rats make holes.
The pedophile documentary is down a rat hole.
No, I'm talking about YouTube videos where I get stuck on one topic that has no interest to me whatsoever, and I get obsessed with it. Yesterday, I watched people making luggage for about an hour and a half, like a bunch of different videos. But I've watched people engraving watches, engraving knives, engraving hammers, and I just get obsessed. I've watched at least 11.
Literally 3 minutes ago, you denied that you watched television.
I know, but YouTube doesn't count because it's not a show. It's a 6-minute, 12-minute video.
YouTube is different.
But YouTube's the way they track you is unsettling because once you watch one thing that you didn't want to watch, like yesterday, I went, I'm going to Dr. Drew's tomorrow, and I went, you know what? I've never watched a surgery video, and I punched in surgery on YouTube.
Oh my God!
And it grossed me out within 10 seconds, and I couldn't watch it. A total knee replacement. It's just like it's repulsive. It was fascinating watching a guy peel a grape with that Da Vinci machine, though.
Oh wow!
They put a surgeon, is that what you had worked on you? Mm-hmm. But he peeled an entire grape with knives.
Yeah.
Like with the machine.
That's what they have to do with the nerves.
But now YouTube thinks all I want to watch is surgery. So
I know YouTube's dangerous for me. I have a similar kind of brain because I one night, for some reason, went, oh my God, Bert Lahr had a career before the Cowardly Lion. And I went for an hour down Bert Lahr videos.
Open Amazon, it's like, hey, here's a bear costume.
Yeah, and I thought, this is not good. This is I've wasted an hour here looking at Bert Lahr in 1930 singing musicals.
It's great if it comes up as a fluke in a conversation and people think you're a super genius.
Yeah, no.
So let's talk about the documentary.
Okay.
Wait, you haven't yet described the two parallel paths. Break first. I'll be right back. Well, CBDs are everywhere, right? Everyone's talking about them, and it's a topic that I get asked about all the time. Bottom line on CBD, although there are way more claims made about them, the clinical evidence right now, it's not all that clear, but many people are using it and reporting great results, and they are very encouraging. So I want to first define exactly what I'm talking about here. CBD is cannabidiol, an extract from hemp. While you might associate with marijuana, CBD does not cause reinforcement. It is not the reinforcing component of hemp, but it is what's responsible for the calming or some of the relaxing effects that many people experience, not the high. Now about the products. There are a ton of them on the market today. For getting the vast array of the reported health benefits, it's important to be aware of what you're buying. I was recently introduced to a company called Select CBD, an Oregon-based company that focuses on high-quality ingredients and manufacturing standards, not the hype. Their CBD-based products are available in a wide range of formulations and flavors, each of which is described to you so you can make an informed decision without all those promises that are probably too good to be true. Like I said, the reported benefits of CBD by individuals using this are very compelling. I'm excited to see how things develop as the science catches up with this booming industry. As usual, the public is ahead of the science. I can't make explicit claims yet, but boy, the reports are pretty encouraging. So if you're ready to try CBD, I encourage you to check out Select CBD. To learn more, go to drdrew.com/select. That's on my site, drdrew.com/SELECT. And for a limited time, you can save 25% at checkout with the code DRDREW, DRDREW. Again, drdrew.com/select, and then the code DRDREW. All right, we're back. We're finally going to hear the two parallel paths.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Of this
it's
film.
really a mess, and it's all I'm a liar and it's a fraud, and I'm just waiting till I get found out.
Well,
that
that's
I'm
what
gonna
you
get a
keep
job.
feeling like. You keep saying.
Yeah, I do feel like a fraud all the time, but I always have.
That's the opposite of Dunning-Kruger, right?
Death is funny.
You know that, right?
No.
You know what Dunning-Kruger is?
No, I don't.
Dunning-Kruger is a psychological principle that humans have to one degree or another that allows them to misjudge their own abilities. It's how somebody can get up at American Idol and think they sound great and really believe that.
Dunning-Kruger?
Dunning-Kruger.
Dunning-Kruger.
And it's also how people have the imposter effect, like you're describing, which is you actually do have abilities, but you feel somehow like not enough.
Yeah, working on it. Death is funny. Funny stories related to death, like how in the depths of grief and misery and the worst feeling you ever had, you say something funny or something funny happens, and it's not to discover why we do that. I understand why we do that. It's a release. But it's just funny stories. Like
almost everybody has a story like that.
Yeah.
Well, you think that until you interview 50 people, and almost none of them do. When
Really?
the camera's pointed out. Not a few people were perfect. Some people are just like, I don't really have any funny stories. And you're like, of course you do.
They just can't think of it.
Yeah, but it's coming together. The other one is me becoming an honest and responsible person, and they're together. They're crossing over all the time. Where I'm. Dumb example is my life coach came over one day and said, "Why is that AT&T bill still sitting on your computer?" And I said, "Fuck them." And she goes, "Well, why don't you pay it?" And I go, "I don't even have AT&T." She goes, "Why do you have a bill?" And I go, "It's from like 6 months ago." She goes, "Well, pay it, and they're out of your life." And I went, "Fuck them." And she physically picked it up and made me go online and pay it. And I was pissed, man.
But that was Mike's attitude about everybody.
Why do you have an AT&T?
No. Forget the AT&T. It was just the fuck them attitude.
Oh, I know that.
Yeah.
I have that.
And I paid it, and she goes, "It's done now. Your relationship with them is done." And I was like, "Oh, I would have never done that. I would have just looked at it every day."
I can take the sociopathy to a different extreme. Just throw it in the trash, and it's done also.
I know, but part of me was going like, "Yeah."
No, not yeah. Just like whatever. Go fuck yourself.
Did you pay the IRS?
No, but I talked to them, and that was a huge step for me. I was shaking. I thought I was going to jail. I filmed the whole thing. Talking to the IRS was amazing this year because it was like a literal weight came off of me. I thought I was like, I don't have the money. I owe $25,000. I quit my job.
I'm going to jail.
What'd they say?
I talked to the woman. She talked.
Divided by
You may have
7.
told us this last time.
No, this is new.
They divided
No,
by
I think
60.
might have
What you owe goes into 60 monthly payments over 5 years, and you pay them.
Yeah,
It's
that's
easy.
probably what we did, but I wasn't paying attention because I was so relieved. And I was honest.
You've
I went,
got to pay it, though.
she
Mike.
goes, "How's your job going?" And I go, "Oh, I quit my job like 4 months ago to make a movie." And she goes, "Okay, that's a new one." And I was like, "Yep." And we talked about it. And at the end of it, she threw in at the last minute, "Good luck with your movie." And I went, "I love you." No joke.
Whoa.
I went, "I love you." Like, I meant it. because of the relief that it brought me. And she hung up, and I was like, oh my God, I told an IRS agent, I love you.
That probably made her day.
It was so much
She's heard
relief.
a lot worse.
You know what I did a couple of days ago for money?
What?
A couple of sweet podcast listeners offered to pay me to go to Disneyland with them. Wow. And I was like, that is so cheesy.
Really?
I
Have you
will
tried Cameo yet?
never do that. And then
Why?
Dr. Drew and a couple other people went, do it. And I did, and it was great. They were
sure
great. They were fun.
Yeah.
I made some money.
What's the drummer's name? I'm blanking on his name. Famous played drum
Travis?
for everybody. He plays
Buddy
for
Rich?
everybody. No. The new modern.
Josh Fries.
So,
I think maybe Josh.
Josh,
do you think he could do Cameo? I mean, we're having great success.
I'm not a
with Cameo.
celebrity, and I don't need something to humiliate me. Every day I'm just looking at it. No one.
Okay. All right.
But he did a thing where I think he was raising money for something where he like charged a lot of money to go to Disneyland and cooked him dinner and stuff. And this is something people do. People love doing that. They can help you also.
You know what
Perfect.
though? I talked about this. Like I had a camera in my windshield when I was driving down there, and I was not in a good mood. And my attitude was poor, and I'm embarrassed about it. But it changed when I got there, and they were super nice, and they were interesting, and they were fun to hang out with. But I was like, I feel like a prostitute, man. And then I started thinking about it. And I'm like, this isn't really how a prostitute feels.
Welcome to showbiz.
I'm going to Disneyland for $150 an hour.
Yeah.
They're having sex with a stranger.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's not quite the same. And I'm sure like mid-level everyday man prostitutes would trade to go to Disneyland.
Right.
Yeah.
And
you want to give a
sure-
stranger a hand job and a Corolla?
I don't think mid-level one would. I think street-level ones would.
Well, what's a mid-level?
$500.
Oh, my God. That seems expensive.
I don't have any idea. But
Now we're pricing male prostitution.
Well, when I think of prostitutes, I think of like the ones I saw in movies and stuff. They're like $1,500 and stuff like in Vegas, and I just assumed that was a rarity, and then everyone else is like in the hundreds.
$25 a blowjob or something.
Really? Oh my God. That is a bargain.
Well, what did Robert Kraft pay? $80
I wouldn't know.
for
Don't ask me.
$80 for a threesome or something.
Really?
That's
assuming.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That was what he paid, right?
It's crazy.
It's
$80.
Yeah, it's something silly.
That is not a lot of money.
No. That's why it's
That's
human
why he
trafficking.
That's why he went there.
Human trafficking.
That's why he had his.
I did not. That's so weird. I'm so dumb. I was always like, why are they calling this human trafficking? They're adults. I thought it was children. I thought it was, this is a consensual agreement between two adults. How is this trafficking?
Just in that moment, I just can't wait to see this movie about Mike. This is going to be the greatest.
I know
thing.
it's going to be
the
the
life
thing.
of Mike.
But
the life of Mike.
Yeah, Life of Mike. I like it.
Do you think?
I think you ought to do 2 movies. I think you ought to do the 3. There's a
Doing 2
third
for
too.
sure.
There's a third, Bob.
Well, if somebody wants to edit it, I'm not putting this as a call out there because I have a person in mind who I trust, but I have recorded every therapy session. And
that's crazy.
In 4K, and Paul goes, "Why don't you just give them to your editor friend and tell him, see if there's something here?" And I go, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
Why not?
Oh my! Honest doesn't do it justice.
That's what'll make it great.
Put it on YouTube, and you'll make $1 million.
Why is this confusing to you?
Putting it on YouTube.
Were you trying to measure what $1 million was? If
somebody told me there was money in it, I would need to.
Don't you know these YouTube kids make millions of dollars?
I don't have that kind of popularity.
Well, what did you say in the sessions?
Yeah, everything.
There you go.
That'd be fascinating.
Well, the real problem is, and
because I never wanted to watch
Looks
that.
Like it could be a manual for.
Well, I'm afraid to talk about this, but I told you, Dr. Drew, this a couple times, and I told some mutual friends that are in the program. I go, I think my therapist is flirting with me, and they're like, she's not. And I go, pretty sure she is. And then we talked about it, and he goes, you need to tell her that. I'm like, no way am I, because that would ruin it if she was flirting with me.
Right. He goes, then I lose my chance. I go, tell her.
Yeah.
That's called
if
erotic.
I tell her, she's going to back up and be like, boundaries.
No, she's not. It's called erotic transference. It's a normal and healthy part of therapy.
I don't know where this came from right now.
Did you say it?
I haven't talked to her yet.
Oh, you asshole.
I'll see her next
You got to
Tuesday.
film that.
I am. I shoot it all. I shoot
but
everything.
remember there was a TV show. You guys are big TV guys.
I thought you meant film.
Remember there was a
making out at the end of
TV
the
show
session.
that was In Therapy. It was called.
I know.
With some
but it was
actor
taped.
guy.
I know it was.
Yeah,
It was
I
acted.
just was like, they should put real therapy
I
on
agree.
TV.
Did Bob Newhart ever do real therapy?
No.
I mean, on the show.
The group therapy was kind of cool.
When was that?
There was scenes in the Newhart through the years where they did a group therapy once a week at night.
Oh yeah.
Mr. Carlin was there. The guy Carlin.
Yeah.
Mr. Carlson. What was his name?
Yeah, one of them died like 2 years ago.
He
and I
was
really
a depressive, little knitting lady.
What would it take for me to become a therapist?
Not much.
About 7 years of training.
All right, I'm out.
But it wouldn't be. I mean, you could do it.
No, you could become a psychologist in 4 years.
Right, and then you get your license to be a therapist. It's 10,000 hours after that.
Oh yeah, you don't want
10,000
that.
hours.
You just want to work in a rehab.
Could be the world's greatest juggler. I don't know why this popped in my head, and I'm sorry to take this way off track, but I just envisioned when we were doing prostitute talk.
Yeah.
I had this weird vision, and keep in mind, I'm not mentally right, so don't take this as mean-spirited or anything. But I just pictured you
Who are you pointing
negotiating with a prostitute, Dr.
Me?
Drew, and then you saying the most arrogant thing of all time, which people have said to me about giving them free work, which is, if we get busted, this will be good publicity for you.
Oh.
I just picture this whole thing playing out in my head, because people have gone, why don't you just give me the pictures? It'll be good publicity. I'm like...
When you're honest like that, that's great. I had that experience one time. I cop drugs for people. That was my thing before Thelonious Monster made our first record. So they would pick me up at my house. I'd drive them over to this drug dealer's house, make them park around the corner. I'd get a bunch of money from them. I'd buy the drugs. I'd keep half of them. And the drugs were nowhere near as expensive as the people I was selling it to. We're driving down the street. I'm in the back seat. There's a woman driving, and my friend is in the passenger seat. Get to a light, she snorts the meth off the console in the car. And she goes, wow. And she looks at me and she goes, man, I'd like to run some of this stuff. Have you got a point? Meaning, have you got a needle, right?
Okay.
I look, it's Kathy Evelyn Smith, the woman who's on trial for killing John Belushi. She's on TV every night.
That's who you're talking
Yeah,
to?
that's who I cop the drugs for while she's on trial.
Wait, can you say this?
I'm sure I can.
Wow.
So,
she's the woman that contributed to the death.
Shot John Belushi up, right?
And by the way, I set a fight with the Yamaguchi, the coroner, who said, "Oh no, he was just experimenting, and just somebody shot him up."
Yeah.
Wasn't that guy just a star effer?
He was the
about
reason there's mystery behind every one of these deaths, whether it's Robert Kennedy or Marilyn Monroe, or
because of him.
He doesn't understand anything clinical at all.
Right.
He has no idea what he's looking at, especially addiction.
So this gets back to the Mike thing. So we're driving down Hollywood Boulevard. Wait, we're driving down Hollywood Boulevard. Now I'm paranoid and I'm looking behind like she has to be being followed. She's on the nightly news every night.
Yeah.
I just copped drugs with her. I got drugs on me. We're in her car and we're driving down. And I remember being anxious for about 10 or 15 blocks and then realizing like this could be good for Thelonious Monster. Like I'm busted with
Oh my god! Oh my god!
It's the same thing.
You know, that is the power of positive thinking right there.
That's it. How bad could it be? I'm a
that's-
rebel.
But
This
that's
is
the
ultimate.
beginning of the Kardashian TMZ world right there. That's where it started.
That's
John
fantastic.
Belushi is where it started.
Yeah.
Because who was on the cover of National Enquirer prior to the 80s? It was like, Natalie Wood, Elizabeth Taylor. It was a different world of Hollywood.
Yeah.
When Belushi died, it became John Belushi. That was our world. That was the punk rock world. That was the alternative world. And now,
Have
Belushi
you seen this
was
punk
that.
series on Epix?
Which one is it?
On Epix, it's a channel, and they have a series on punk right now going, just starting.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You guys watch so much
I don't
TV.
watch it. No, I know these people. I don't.
Oh, really? I
just
want to
know
watch
them.
it.
But let's go back to the third film. The third film is
I don't know. What is it?
You got the death?
Wait, are you talking
The
about
chaos
my
of
side
you.
project
I would call it your third film.
that I'm thinking about shooting?
No, the one that you interviewed your friends for and dragged a wax figure across the country.
Oh yeah. I don't know where that's standing right now. I reviewed the contracts a few months ago.
He has a Burt Reynolds film.
Oh, you have a wax figure of Burt Reynolds?
I've told this story.
Did you
so
buy
many
the
times.
wax figure of Burt Reynolds?
It's better than that.
My friends and I are obsessed with the 70s, obsessed with Burt Reynolds. They've got close to 2,000 pieces of Burt Reynolds memorabilia. They have anything and everything that ever had Burt Reynolds' name
Has he
on
been
it.
over to their house?
He's dead.
He's dead.
I know, but back then, has he?
This was a little more than 10 years ago. I got a call saying, what are you doing on Saturday? And I'm like, I don't know. And he goes, you're going to the Wax Museum to buy the Burt Reynolds statue for us because it's going up for sale. And I went down there 2 days for previews, got kicked out both times. I went back for the auction, got my number. I was nervous as hell. Got blown out of the water in 5 minutes. I'm trying to make this story as fast as possible. I split. I call my friend Matt. I go, I'm sorry I didn't get the Burt. Only brought $700 with me. It went out of immediately. It started at like $2,000. And he's like, oh, that's all right, blah, blah, blah. And I went, fuck, I left my $300 deposit at the Wax Museum. I turned around, rainy day too. So all this was just happens, just circumstance. It was
on Hollywood Boulevard?
No, in Buena Park next to the Osprey Farm.
That's closed a long time.
It's very far.
I park. I go get in line to get my deposit back, and I happen to get in line behind the woman who bought it, and that was the first in a long series of unbelievable, amazing coincidences.
Did you guys get married?
I said, I heard her say I'm paying for Burt Reynolds, and I went, oh, I was bidding on that against you. And she goes, you a big fan? I go, I'm a huge fan. My friends are fanatical. And she goes, well, nice to meet you. She splits. I get my money back, turn around. She's on the phone, and she walks over to me and hands me the phone. And it was Burt Reynolds. And I go, what are you going to do with that wax statue? And he goes, it's going to Florida State University. And I didn't think about it. There was no pre-thought. This was not an idea. I just went, my friends and I will drive it there for free. And he goes, give your money, give your number to Kate, and we'll think about it. And from that moment on, there was nothing I wanted more in life ever.
The adventure began.
Ever than driving that across the country for Burt. They didn't call us for 5 days. We knew it had to be out of the Wax Museum in 7 days or it reverts back to them, ownership, and you lose your money. And they just were blowing us off like it's no one's business. Thursday afternoon, I get a call, and it was Kate, Bert's girlfriend at the time, the one who bought it. And she goes, you need to call Bert's lawyer right now. And I call Bert's lawyer, and he goes, hey, small world, buddy. He knew me from a TV show I worked on.
You're kidding.
It was the second of the most amazing the coincidences never stopped. And we picked up the wax Burt Reynolds. We signed all these contracts.
Do you have to keep it
we're not gonna,
so it doesn't melt?
The movie's mediocre, but it's still filled with love.
Melt?
How do you keep it
they don't melt.
from melting?
It's not like carrying a fragile candle around. They're very, very sturdy. And it wasn't that hot.
And you took it in a convertible.
But we did. We had a van.
A van.
We rented a van and we painted it, delivering Burt on one side, a giant eastbound, and down on the other side. I made all these little stickers that said Burt on board, put them in all the windows. And it was 3 of the biggest fans in the world doing this for Burt Reynolds, and it was fun because we were idiots. Like, we signed contracts. It will remain locked in a box. It will never go unattended. Within an hour of getting it, we had set it up at my house for a photo op, and then we took it to TGI Fridays for lunch, and we just put his head on the table. And everyone in the restaurant came by to look at it. The head came off the body. We set it up at the beach in San Diego. We took it to bars. We took it out in the middle of Tombstone in the desert to meet a cowboy who thought he was Burt Reynolds in the wind and stuff. And he's like, that is cool as beans, man. Everyone's taking pictures with it. We dropped it. We did all this stuff with it. And it was the biggest letdown in the history of any the world's most expensive home movie.
Because?
Which was, we dropped it off to no fanfare. They couldn't have cared less. They locked it in a closet. We get home, and I was just like, what a dud. This is terrible. I didn't remember anything pleasant happening on the trip. Turned out it was like magical. But my perception is not right. And I got a call from Kate, and she was pissed, man. She was almost yelling at me, and she goes, you guys really screwed up. And I go, I documented everything. I go, it got there in perfect shape. There was nothing wrong with it. And she goes, that's not it. You got the wrong Burt. We wanted the Deliverance Burt.
It's the wrong figure.
Yeah.
Which one was it?
It was like a Western Burt, possibly a TV show.
How are you supposed to know?
But she bought it, so it wasn't really our fault. And she goes, you need to find the right Burt. And everything fizzled out after a while because his publicist got involved, and he's like, what is this garbage? This thing is garbage. He goes, I'm not showing this to Burt. And we were like, fine. And it just sat for 10 years.
Really?
And recently we called the university to find out. I'm reshooting interviews now, trying to reignite the story.
Right.
And we called the university. One of us did, and they said someone took it. And then the woman goes, hold on, I'll find out who. And it was one of Bert's friends, a booster. So my friend Steve called his house. He had just died, and so he gave it a few weeks. Called back to ask his wife what happened, and she died.
Oh.
Like right now, so it's somewhere.
It's the curse of death, that thing.
Yeah, exactly.
This goes into your 50
years.
Video.
Oh my God!
Haunted.
You're not talking about the Gone with the Wind curse. What are you talking about? Everyone's dead. Everyone involved in it's dead.
He's re-interviewed everybody, and it
was truly like magical. Like, we were in Tombstone with the wax Burt in a bar at 9 a.m, and some guy just saw it and goes, you have to meet my friend. He thinks he's Burt Reynolds.
I'm dying to see this movie.
Yeah,
it's not. It's. I can't say it's great, but I think it's got a lot of. It's on YouTube.
Already?
It's
the
been on
old
there for
version.
like 3 years.
The old
yeah,
version.
the
I
old
want to see
version.
the new.
What's it called?
Delivering Bert.
I want to see the new one with the
Yeah,
interviews.
the new interviews have been really good, and they look much better because the old one is regular death, and I was in a bad mood, and we were drinking like crazy. Like we could only drive 400 miles before we had to get a couple cases of beer and check into a hotel. Right. But it was fun, man. It was a wonderful experience, and it's like everything I've ever done in my life that I was proud of. I was miserable while I did it, and I look back on it with this delusion of grandeur, and where I go, that was the greatest time, and that was the greatest time. It was the greatest. It came off the other miraculous thing, which was Star Trek, where I had an opportunity to pitch an idea to Paramount with no experience. I had no business doing it, and I pitched an idea for a live Star Trek show that was not a parody, and they said yes. And I left there like, what just happened? Because I had no business doing it. I had no experience, and they let me produce it and direct it. And this was back-to-back with that. So whatever happened where I peaked in my life back then,
well, you're living off your childhood, it looks like. The memories of your childhood.
Well, the childhood, remember, included cults.
Yeah.
And so you want to do a cult thing too, right?
Yeah. In fact, we probably shouldn't talk about it right now because I'm going to do it and you're part of it.
Oh.
Which cults?
It was called Bible Speaks. It was in Lake Elsinore.
Yeah, I heard about it.
Lived there for a couple of years when I was a kid. 5 of us in one room.
Right.
Mike's mom was a piece of work.
Yeah. There's a lot of great cult movies. There's the Source Family.
I met one of those guys.
I know. We know.
I bet you do. That restaurant is still
there. Grew up in that.
Source Family's great.
You know that?
No.
She's Lonnie Kai is the beach in the dirt where she was born.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Source Family's great. Let the Fire Burn.
Father Yao died on the thing.
Hang gliding.
They were kind of benign. It didn't seem like that was an evil cult.
No, and it was.
There was another one in Orange County called the Children of God or something.
Well, Children of God, Heaven's Gate, I'm obsessed with.
I'm convinced they all start well-meaning.
They all start here in Southern California.
Yeah,
we're all cults start.
But always at the center is a
well,
sociopath who convinces himself that he's whatever, and he always ends up having sex.
Watch my theory about why is it Southern California. Another thing that you don't realize, there's a little house on Union Street near Beverly where it was the first Pentecostal church in America. Pentecostalism, the holding rattlesnakes, started in Los Angeles.
So why here?
Scientology, based in Los Angeles.
So why here? I have a theory.
EST started in Los Angeles.
Right.
Landmark Forum started in Los Angeles.
Let's not badmouth
the Source Family started there.
Right, so why?
All of it in Los Angeles.
Why?
Because this is where all the mentally ill people migrate towards.
Why?
Because we're seeking fame and fortune and unsettledness.
That's a great
right.
So I would argue absolutely true in the second half.
Your mom. Where's your mom from?
Philadelphia.
Right.
Second.
His mom came out here. Fame and fortune.
Running away. I would argue the second 2/3 of the 20th century includes largely those kinds of people. But prior to that, I would argue the really crazies came out here. Follow this logic. Who settled this country in the first place on the East Coast?
There will be blood. No, the West Coast. There will be blood.
Correct, but the first the bunch of hooligans and outcasts.
Yeah,
and people,
gangs of New York.
But yes, people nobody wanted, and they just go to the United States. Just try to find your way there. So we got the alcoholics, the drug addicts, the mentally ill.
In
first
the
of all,
19th century.
In the 18th and 19th century. Yeah. Then the craziest amongst those thought, I'm going to go west. I'm going to put my family in a wagon and forget those Indians. That'd be fun. Let's go fight the Indians.
Yeah.
And so the craziest
mental illness.
And Mike. I really think that's why. I think that's why all.
Why do we think Australia is the place where everyone got dumped?
Right. I think
that was prior to America's dumping.
And I think that the reason we have white male serial killer or mass murderers out here is because of that. That the brain stuff that came out here in the 18th, 19th century was
just
something.
Think of all the craziness of cults of New York City. None.
Yeah.
One serial killer, Son of Sam, he killed 5 people. We got people out here that kill 60 or 70 people. That guy from a couple of months ago, the California killer.
Yeah.
He was a sheriff's department guy.
Jesus.
I mean, we've got the cornerstone of mental illness is Southern California.
How many serial killers have not been caught that just died and we'll never know?
Oh, who knows? I don't know. But to your point, bringing up the story we opened with about the pedophile.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about it. We talked about prior to the podcast.
Abducted in
plain sight.
Abducted in plain sight. Yeah.
It's these people are manipulative and they're amongst us, and you don't even know how many.
It was unbelievable how much power this guy had over this entire family.
Just by being nice to them, essentially.
But it was more than that. It's deeper than that.
Yeah.
There's something I had a discussion with one of the girls last night at the Improv, and I go, I always feel like a piece of garbage because I feel like I could recognize when someone's vulnerable. And I thought that was my special talent. And my therapist is like, you're not special because of that. I'm like, but I have this evil thing in me where I can tell if a girl is vulnerable and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, no, that's human.
Can you turn that into a positive? You're very empathetic.
Hopefully. No, hopefully, because...
Look at how dismissive his
No, but I think his is more on the codependent spectrum, which is a little different.
Well, like in my... I'm not patting myself on the back for being... lacking in self-esteem, but there's been many times. Let me tell you this:
Chrissy doesn't say when I'm going to meet one of my friends, "Say hi for me." To many people, she likes you because you're so sweet and honest.
No, but it's not, like if I'm out and about in the world, especially when I was younger, and if I was at a party, I could tell which girl would fall for my bullshit.
That's just being an alcoholic.
That's called growing up in the 70s.
Okay, but I thought it was a bad thing. Like I'm a manipulating.
Well, you could use it for bad.
But I've never seen someone do like what that dude did with the whole family. Yeah. Okay, my point is, I want to be careful.
You're obsessed with how much power he had. Yeah. Not the evil that he
let me tell you why, Bob. And this is going to come off as a joke, and part of it is a joke, but I mean it from my heart. I'm doing. I don't know what it's going to be, if it's going to be a show or a podcast, but I'm doing this thing called I'm Starting a Cult. And I'm going to seriously start a cult. And I'm kind of doing it like tongue-in-cheek, but the bottom line is I really am hoping that this turns into a real cult, and I'm the leader.
But then when you're...
And what is it the cult of? What are the nuts and bolts of it?
It's spirituality, so I haven't figured it out yet.
Chaos factor?
No. There's going to be meditating, farming, sex, probably.
There's always sex.
Then you're screwed. You can't. Once you cross body boundaries, you're done.
I just threw the sex one in there, so in case people are tuning out and they're like, "Wait, what'd you say? Sex?"
Why don't you just join the AA cult?
I'm in that cult already.
Well, then there's rules and tenets to it.
I'm not the ruler of that. Oh, I thought you mean lift it from there. Oh, I'm totally taking stuff from AA.
Oh, Jesus.
Absolutely.
Oh, God.
We have peer-to-peer.
He doesn't like AA because there's
the 15 steps of my cult.
He doesn't like AA because there's no ruler. There's no monarch.
There's no and in Mike's world is to get in with so that you can circumvent power.
It really has become like I've always fantasized about it since I was a kid, and it really has become like the primary goal is to earn a living
as a cult leader.
Yeah, and eat healthier because we're going to farm.
But what do you know about farming?
Nothing.
I don't need to know anything. I'm the leader. Jesus Christ.
So before that happens,
you ask the guy who runs the pencil factory, what do you know about writing?
He's going to be like,
I make wooden things.
A lot of these names are brand is important nowadays. Yeah. So what's the name of the cult? What's the brand of the cult?
Caranoism.
You might be familiar with this. My phone's off, or I would just show you. But when I was talking to you, I think it was either on the After Disaster or on Loveline, and you said, "What's up?" And I went, "I'm one step away from hitting my head and starting a cult." And you kind of encouraged this. You were like, I could totally see that happening. And then people started sending me emails going, I would seriously join. I'm not kidding. I'll move in.
I was kidding.
How about just the book, and there is no book? Because remember, The Secret was the last big cult here in L.A.
I fell for it completely.
Did you really?
Well, I didn't even read it, but I was like, this makes sense to me. This makes sense to me.
What did you know about The Secret?
If you think it'll happen. If you wish for money, money will come your way. I think there's something to thinking positively.
Did it work for you?
Well, there's a book called "You're a Badass at Making Money" by a woman named Jen Sincero.
Who made you read this?
Paul Ollinger
that's
did.
What I figured.
Who's got a podcast that you're on?
Yeah. And the book?
The Badass book.
I was trying to think of where I was going. I was going to say your episode is very interesting and good.
You're not badass at making money? Is that it?
I'm horrible at it. I'm horrible at accepting money. I'm horrible at earning money. But her thing is you need to accept that you love money and not think of it as an evil thing. You need to accept
That's
that money does good, and I deserve money, and it's getting over these hurdles of I don't deserve it, and money is a bad thing, and fuck everybody who's rich. I'm sorry for the profanity.
But Mike, I'm just going to tell you, I learned those things, I hate to admit it, working the steps of AA.
Yeah.
You'll learn responsibility and one of the things I learned in AA was I had money guilt. I felt bad that I have so many friends that aren't doing as well as me, and I felt like I don't want to act like I'm got money or whatever. Rather than say, you know what? While everyone else was just living kind of the teenage 30s, I was working my ass off for him for 9 years, 80 hours a week.
Yeah.
So I deserve to have a house.
Yeah.
Right? And not that it's arrogant, but it's just the reality of the way the world is. Yeah. Right? You could have learned that if you would have dug a little deeper.
I'm doing it now.
So
but I have an out.
We set a goal, because I had a goal for my 4-step but by a year, right? And then I didn't make it. It was like a year and a half. How about by 10 years? But you'll have all 12 steps done within 3 years.
I made amends to somebody last night, and I know I'm jumping the gun because that's way down.
Have you accepted your powerlessness yet?
I'm still working on that.
You made an apology.
Bob,
no, listen.
Bob,
you made an apology.
You haven't accepted your
I know. So
powerlessness.
I read it over and over, and I think about it, and I meditate on it. I'm trying to get it in my head.
But listen, because you've not done the initial work, what you did was an apology, not an amends. So who'd you apologize to?
I apologize to a company person that worked at the Improv who I hated from day one, and I made his life hell, and I humiliated him in front of people, and I yelled at him in front of people, and we became enemies, and it hurt me a lot because he fucked me over a bunch of times because we were enemies because I said
right.
And
that's how it works, Mike.
I saw him. That wasn't fair to me.
And so you apologize.
In the Mike world, we got to get the notes for the cult. You can fuck under others, but they can't fuck you
I just hated this guy. I hated everything about him. And I told him last night, I ran into him. We fake said hi to each other. And I went, hey, can I talk to you for a minute? And it was
a magic moment.
I go, I treated you like garbage, and I did stuff to you that I regret because I'm angry at myself, and I hate myself, and I decided one day I don't like you, and fuck you, and I'm sorry about that, and I think about it all the time, and I'm sorry I started off like that, and I go, I don't plan on us being friends, but I just want you to know that I did it because I hate me, and it wasn't you. I just decided you're my enemy, and I left there and felt good about it.
What did he say?
He gave me a hug.
Wow.
And
then he said, what have you been working on? And I went, I'm making a movie. And he's like, really? And then I was pissed and resentful that he hadn't been tracking me the last year.
Oh, my God. Progress, not perfection.
Thus the need for the initial steps.
I just assumed everyone in the company was tracking my every move every day. What's he up to?
Oh, my God, that Mike Carano.
Oh, my God.
I really thought that.
So your recommendations are all your stuff and this Netflix documentary about the cult guy.
I'm very concerned about this cult podcast. I'm very concerned about it.
Here's why it's a good thing.
Here's a theory for you. Embrace chaos.
I'm trying to do the opposite. I'm trying to clear my head and not have. I'm trying to meditate.
Can
and not
you
have
imagine what the farm is going to be like if Mike is the leader?
I can tell you exactly what it's going to be like. It's going to be a lot like your house with a bigger yard.
So
we're going to rent a nice house in Beverly Hills with a big
cult
yard.
Leaders, wait a minute. I don't think you know much about cults. I thought you grew up in one. Cult leaders do a lot of shit.
Yeah,
it's a heavy workload.
Bob, what's going on with you?
I want to know how you're going to run a farm.
I'm giving you leadership, right? I'm giving you what I'm going to give my followers. Like, what's happening in your life? Everything all right?
Yeah.
You got to love bomb him first. You're so great. You're so wonderful. I see something special in you.
Bob, I'm honored to have you here.
There you go.
I'm honored for the carrots you've been growing for us in the backyard. And if you ever, my door is always open.
Thank you.
Never mind the 4 deadbolts.
I think you need a little more for the cult leadership stuff.
The water has been shut off to the farmhouse because we didn't pay the bill. What do we do, Mike?
You find 4 chicks and go kill the person who shut it off.
I don't think you have to worry. I don't think the cult's going to get off the ground.
Well,
I think it'll be a great podcast.
I'd much
Police
rather
will be at your door when you get home.
The podcast is really I want to talk about other cults, and I want to go like I'm starting a cult, and then talk about other cults.
See where it goes
in regards to what I would pick and choose, and it's done with tongue in cheek.
Got it.
There you go.
But then I thought, if it gets popular,
well, you got to finish those movies.
Yeah.
We all want to see these movies.
The Burt movie, the therapy movie, the chaos
death
parallel.
The death
lives.
movie is the priority, and that's the
movie, the
biggest
Burt
weight on my
movie,
shoulders because I'm obligated to Paul for that movie. And
he wants it to be the death movie now, or do you do what?
No, well, that's my obligation to him.
Yeah,
he
but
gave me money
didn't.
for that.
But he doesn't care which one it is.
No, he just wants me to do something.
Yeah,
But it's crazy that I just got to tell you, your sister's death, I do think about a lot.
Well, we have to describe it
out.
for people. Let's describe it.
Well, I saw it on the news, and I didn't know it was Mike's sister.
Right. So it was about 4 years ago?
In
It was
San
exactly
Diego.
3 years ago.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
So you've been on this podcast that long. How long have we been doing this podcast?
Oh, wow.
It was
Really?
in San Diego.
We
Let's
can hear
reenact-
the previous Mike Carano podcast if you want to see.
Let's go through it. So,
It was a very windy night.
and she was driving home from your parents' house?
She was going to a gig. She was a professional
She
drummer.
had the drums
and,
in the car.
She,
It was really windy.
Yeah.
it was really windy, and the one lone 100-foot tree at the beach fell on her car as she was driving under it. She was the only one hit.
Craziest thing ever.
Ever. There are
It
no
was-
trees in the air except for the one.
Yeah,
It's like a
100-foot
random
tree,
event.
Boom.
and it was crazy. It was nuts. It was horrific. It was
Let's not think about her, that horrible part of it, but just the randomness of it is the craziest death I've ever heard in my lifetime.
which is my opening statement in the movie.
the randomness.
I talk
of
about it, and I talk about the suffocating feeling it was, and how I've never had this where it felt like I say something along the lines of, and it was very sincere when I said it. It's the opening of the movie, and I go, when she died, it was like every cell in my body was drowning and screaming at the same time, and it was just silence, and I was distraught. And a friend of mine goes, "What are the odds that a tree would fall in her car?" And I went, "Why, after the worst thing that ever happened to me, would you bring the second worst thing into it? Math." And then I was like, a monster. But I meant it. I was like, well, you want me to do math at a time like this? Like the odds?
Have you ever heard of such a random death?
Well, I'll tell you something. Ever since it happened, I've heard of it a lot.
Like
because
what?
trees
Like
fall on people way more often than I
but
ever
like
thought.
in their houses, the chances going 30 miles an hour down a street,
Unbelievable.
and
At the beach
and
in
it
San
falling
Diego.
right on the
Maybe
little 2
in
feet
tornado
of.
country, but not.
Yeah.
Not
No,
in
it was
San
it was
Diego.
a fluke, man. And it's also, I'm aware of how people feel about their dead relatives and stuff. We always look at it. But there's also
No, death is usually
Why her?
explainable by logic or reasoning or medicine.
But I mean, it goes even deeper for us because we're like, why her?
Right. She's the one she was the good one.
Because
Yeah,
we
she's
need
the
to
first one that
spare
got
Dick
sober.
Cheney at all times.
She's the one that brought our whole family together. She's responsible for everything good that happened. She fought for it. She took care of my mom, took care of my dad, did everything with the
business.
nieces and nephews. Everything.
And-
She was their my niece's dance instructor. She was at every one of my nephew's events. She was at everything and worked full time. And she taught dance and she played live music every night.
And the entire community loved her.
Yeah. And why was it her? Like, could have been one of us, like
But
one of the
that's
lazy ones.
Well,
God wanted her back.
is it sadder if it's somebody we don't like? I
No,
mean,
it's
if
much much less sad.
nicer.
Death is such an amazing thing. It's unbelievable. Like, so it can kill you and break your heart and make you lose ambition for everything in life. Otherwise, it can make you click your heels together and go, I'm glad that guy's dead. Wait, did you see the newspaper? Trump died choking on his own vomit? What? Oh, my God. I'm going to the balloon store. I've never done that before in my life. Nope, you know what I mean? It depends on what the death is. When a horrible criminal dies in jail, we kind of just go like, yeah, good.
How
F
about
you,
the
buddy.
crazy thing about the guy who's now so demented he can't be executed knowing he's being executed for the murder that he did, so they're not going to execute him.
Oh, my God. That's crazy.
Wow.
He went to
you know
the
what?
Supreme Court.
In case any parent ever thinks taking an acting class is a waste of time, right there.
Yeah, if I was on death row, I'd be demented right away.
I don't know what I did. Yeah, are you talking about because I pet a bunny? And they'll be like, put this guy back in the hole.
It's a crazy world, but that is the most random death I've ever heard of, and I've been surrounded by death my whole life. It's just the craziest.
I'm sure there has to be
Sad.
some.
I've never.
I'm
heard
sure there's
of,
a story. There are stories long and.
I use it therapeutically in group therapy sometimes to say you never know.
Yeah.
I do this thing that I started doing about 2 or 3 years ago because I do a group out in Malibu on Tuesdays, and I say, I've lived my life now these last 8 or 10 years to the fullest in each day, because I don't know if on the way home a car isn't going to head-on collide on me on the 101 freeway. You should see the therapist's reaction to that, not the clients. The clients like it and they get the message. The therapist like, you shouldn't say that, Bob. That's it could happen because I said it.
No,
Hey,
people are superstitious about it.
How do you? This is like the steps, and I'm being honest. I'm not bullshitting you. I want to absorb it and feel it. All the first 3 steps, I read them every day. I think on them. I write about it. I don't want to just say the words and then move on. I want to feel that. I want to feel the powerless. I want to feel the higher power. But it's the same thing with the death thing. I think of that every minute. I think of this is now, live in the moment. I talk to my therapist about it every single week about it's all about being present and being now and being here. And it's not about worrying about what's going to happen or dreading, thinking about the past and stuff. It's about living life and living it to its fullest. And I kill myself. I beat myself up all the time because I'm wasting time. I will waste time with I'm just depressed and I'll just sit at home or I'll lay in bed staring at YouTube.
Is that what the fact of your sister's death, in a weird way, also motivated you to get to your therapy?
Absolutely.
I was
desperate.
Not to get over the grief, but also so you can engage.
Desperate for something
live
to change.
Like her, live more like her.
But
live more
100%. That's what this whole project became. It evolved from the funny little stories to being like her. She was courageous. She did everything that we never had the balls to do. She became a professional drummer when she was 15 or 16. She did that her entire life. She was a professional dancer, Irish step dancer, toured the world over and over and over.
Isn't there?
She was in Titanic. She was in a million things.
Isn't there something spiritual about that?
I believe so. I just need to feel it. I need to understand it.
In addition
You're on your way, young man.
Yeah, in addition to there being random deaths, I guarantee you, just statistically and for whatever reason, way more near misses that could have been weird random deaths that didn't occur.
How many times have you almost died, Bob?
Quite a few.
Yeah. I've fallen. I've been on the cliff in La Jolla drunk with my friends and almost slipped in front of Dr. Seuss's house and fallen to the rocks a dozen times.
This is going on in basketball, and this is the last thing I'll say. Karl Anthony Towns, one of the most living up to his expectations basketball player in the NBA, Minnesota Timberwolves. He lacks motivation. He's so talented, and he shows it sometimes, and then he's just lazy, and it's been 4 years of that.
Hold on.
He almost dies in a car accident a week ago.
He did or almost
Almost. 5% chance the doctors gave him. The car is totaled, got hit by an 18-wheeler. He is playing like a completely different basketball player. And
I want that change,
and it's that thing.
You got it.
It's that thing that whatever needs to wake us up to this is what we get, and we're lucky to get it.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at that. Hopefully we wake some people up today.
Right.
Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you, Bob.
We'll see you
Check
next
out
time.
Mike Carano on Instagram.
Yeah, no, he and I will be there more apparently.
And
'cause
watch
people,
this
I'm gonna
Netflix
repost
documentary.
your video on
people
your
seem to like Mike and I on Instagram, so we're going to be more on Instagram. Is that what you're saying?
I didn't expect it to be. I didn't expect to get actual emails from people going, "I'd like to see all the footage. I'd like to see this. I'd like to see that." The first time we did it, I know you want to wrap up. Are we wrap?
Go ahead, tell me.
The first time we did it, I put the camera on the dashboard. That was the night I left the camera in your car, and you came back, and we argued about whether I did or not. And you're like, "I'm looking at it." I'm like, "I did not leave in your car." And you're like, "I'm looking at it." And I was like,
Wait, like,
"I'm right. You're wrong."
It's like a $1,500 camera. Like, please take this camera, everybody.
Now I just use the GoPro. But the first time I put the camera in there, I just said, let's see what happens. And I remember we got to the crest in the Hollywood Hills, and you went, "Tell me the worst thing you've ever done." And I was like, okay, now it's off. And we went, and I was like, "Why are you doing?" I kind of suspected that you were trying to, you wanted to confess something to me, but you needed me to say something first. "I killed a man." And you're like, "So did I." Even Steven, cut your wrist and put it together where no one can say a word about it. But obviously I would never upload something that's intimate or personal. I mean, I wouldn't. Like the things I put up were just fun. Like
I'm not really even aware of the camera when we're doing it. So
I forget too. I honestly forget when it's in therapy. Hey, can I ask you a real quick question before we wrap this up?
Yeah.
What is this show? Like, is
this
it?
Show?
Do you think of this? Your listeners, is it for entertainment or is it for help? Like, I don't mean what you guys are doing. I mean, do people who listen to this, do you think they're just like, I like to hear knowledgeable people talk about something, or do you think people are going, I'm searching for something, and maybe there's
the most feedback I've gotten is that that we talk about sobriety in a refreshing, kind of humorous, kind of plain spoken way instead of a clinical way.
And also the idea was the frame is recovery, but life is really the topic.
Okay,
Plus,
good.
we wanted to get the celebrity rehab patients who did well and show their life.
Yeah, after all the shit that we got for the ones that didn't go so good.
It turned into comedians and our friends and people, and not everybody's in recovery, because we've had people that aren't in recovery who just want to talk about shit, And
but that's the most true, because the 3 or 4 that died, that's all the public seems to get to learn about. So why not explain, hey, there's people that ran their own programs that became PhDs that have been sober the whole time since the show. And
the 3 of the 4 that died now, one died of heart disease.
One died of mental illness.
One died of mental illness, and the other 2 died of the opiate issue. Mm-hmm. And people don't now get that they were killed by my peers. And Bob and I were out there fighting to get those doctors not to prescribe to them, and every time they'd go back.
We had Daniel Baldwin last week, and he was great.
Danny's amazing.
I'll tell you a funny part. After one of the opiate addicts
he got kicked
died,
out of celebrity rehab.
And she was kind of upset because he gets all the shit for it, right? And I was just sitting there. I don't know where we were, and I was sitting there listening and being the little brother, and then in my mind I was like, those aren't even the people I expected to die.
Right.
There's going to be more.
Right.
The dark side of celebrity rehab. You open the office door and there's a death pool.
Is alive. It's a fucking miracle.
Yeah.
But it's a miracle that they've all lived.
There are so many people. You
are a miracle.
Well, I go to you all the time when people are like, I can't do it. I'm like, you can't. There are people that listen to this show that will send me emails that listen to my podcast, which has turned into like a self-help thing for some reason. But
for some reason, it's all that you talk about.
Well, it's me just walking around yelling at people, then apologizing. Like, this fucking loser. And I'm like, I think he's a loser because I want to do what he's doing, and I don't think I should do it.
You're starting to connect the outer with the inner.
I'm finally getting this. But you are the perfect example, because I would have. I don't want to say that.
I told everybody he was going to die.
But if someone goes, he went to 4 rehabs, I'd be like, too late. 10 rehabs, too late. 20 I'd be like, no, this is not happening. Well, how many, but look.
The new data shows, on average, for 1 year of sobriety, it takes 5 years and 4 treatments. That's on average.
So you're a miracle.
Yeah.
You're a walking miracle. He just went to an AA meeting.
I know.
My whole problem is in my head. The alcohol was just made me feel normal and good.
Here's another thing about your sobriety, because I was there on the first day. Interestingly, if it was a bunch of tough ass or clinical stuff, he wouldn't have caught on to it. That it was me and Dave who barely take it seriously.
Oh my God, you were there the first day.
He was taking it more serious than we were.
I can't believe that you were there the first day.
Yeah, I was there the first day.
We can't really.
Don't you know how connected we are?
Oh my God, I did not. I forgot about that. You were there the first day.
It was so funny because,
I figure, coincidence in your life.
Because I believe in that Gloria taught me. Everybody be themselves, and then the new person will find the people that they can hear it from.
Yep.
But as long as we're all on the same page.
And that's the way you and I ran our program.
Yeah, that's it.
We had lots of different personalities, and our patients connected with one of us.
That's crazy.
But you would have relapsed a dozen times if you fell in with the other crowd on the other side of the room.
The cool kids.
You know what I'm talking about.
Sort of, yeah.
The celebrity side.
Mike is trying to put on airs here.
Yeah.
Mike, when we sit on that left-hand side and we talk shit about everybody and we don't pay attention, that's our way of doing it.
But sometimes
the other
I sit in the
people
front.
that are so serious and talk about this stuff.
No, I don't want that. Yeah, no, I already went to an old man meeting in Burbank one night, and I said something, and they all went, "I disagree with that. I don't think this is funny. This is a life or death situation." And I was like, "Not to me, it's not." Because
is that across from the Vons at that church?
Across from the airport.
Oh, okay.
On Winona.
All right.
But everybody came after me.
I was there Mike Serrano's first day of sobriety.
Right, we're going to leave it at that. Thank you, guys. Amen. See you next time.
Let's get a drink.
Peace out.
All right, that's about it for this episode of This Life. Thanks for listening and subscribing on your favorite platforms. Rate us 5 stars and tell a friend. Also, be sure to visit drdrew.com for the latest news. We'll tell you where you can find all of our health-related content, including the latest in-depth series, The History of Opium. You can now listen to it on the Weekly Infusion podcast. We have some great and very interesting and appropriate interviews with key historical players in the history of opium. We're excited about our newest podcast, Dr. Drew After Dark, which has been described as a dark web reboot of Loveline. It's the hottest guest spot for all the most popular comedians. Beware, it is for a mature audience. It is kind of a reboot of Loveline. You can hear the episodes first in a podcast form Thursday. Then on Friday, you can watch all the video episodes when the YouTube page drops on the Your Mom's House YouTube channel. New episodes every week. Subscribe, tell a friend. Also on Doctor.com, you can find Swole Patrol, our health and fitness podcast with Mike Catherwood. If you want something a bit more refined that will expand your intellectual horizons, please subscribe to the Dr. Drew podcast, where I feature a wide variety of very interesting and important guests. Get in-depth interviews there. Last but not least, me and Adam and Dr. Drew Show podcast. It's a lot of fun, and we are still together, and you can get it 5 days a week. So go to drdrew.com. Please tell a friend, and we thank you for it. And thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.